Hi everyone, Ariane Fisher here, the co-founder of StoryMix Media, and today we're here to talk about how to create your wedding shot list in 5 simple steps. And I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes to see if anyone else wants to join us. In the meantime, if you want to send me questions, it looks like they have the Q&A turned off for tonight from Google. Thank you. But if you did have a question for me, let's see. What I can do, you can tweet it to me and I will answer your question. I did have a couple of questions that already came in. So let's see. First, let's talk about a little bit about while we're waiting to see if anyone else wants to join us. Let's talk a little bit about why you want a custom shot list. A lot of people are using, pro photographers or pro videographers, and a lot of times they'll ask you if you want to create your own shot list or you want to work with them to create one. And it's definitely a good idea to work with them, but you do still want it to be unique to your wedding and what you have going on. So a little background on who I am and why I'm talking to you about it. I am the co-founder of StoryMix Media, and so I think a lot of you are familiar with. We have an app for capturing photos and videos from your wedding, and I'm just going to pull it up so I can show it to you. I'll show you a neat little trick while I do it. My apologies. The Wedding Mix app. Ta-da! Which is looking really bright. But let me show it to you this way, because this #1 tip in shot list, look, there's my face. Tell all your guests to hold the phone this way when they're shooting anything at your wedding. If, aside from the photographer shooting anything, you don't want black bars on the sides of any video that you take. If you think about anything in YouTube, it's always this way, or Facebook when it's showing videos, not this way. So make sure you show people. And the reason I'm talking about shot lists is on the Wedding Mix app, we do have a custom shot list so that you can customize for your wedding and tell your friends, won't show it, and tell your friends what to shoot for your wedding, what moments are most important. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the slides while I'm talking. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead and tweet them and I will answer. Okay. So when you're building your shot list, the first thing you want to think about is how long is your wedding? So are you having a destination wedding? In which case it might be over, we've done some weddings that were like 7 days long by the time you get to the location, and you have all those sightseeing trips and you have different excursions every day. Sorry, that's a chair squeaking in the background. So on a destination wedding, you're going to have several days of events that you want to capture. Let's see, if you're having a multicultural wedding, like a South Asian wedding, you might have 3 days of events. There's the different ceremonies with applying the henna, the, now I can't think of the event, but the different events, the religious ceremonies and different things that are on different days. So if your wedding is multi-day, your shot list is going to be different than if it's 8 hours, or if you're having an evening or an afternoon wedding and you only have a few hours. So the first thing you want to think about really is how long is your wedding. We've done some where they included in their shot list, things like if it was a destination, you might want to include in your shot list something like, have people interview in the wedding, interview into the camera, where they came from, and tell them to include in their shots the airport or signs, like even street signs from their city. And you can make a cool collage after the wedding with any photos people took of their city and where they were from. And you can make a cool memento with like who traveled the farthest, or you can even turn it into a scavenger hunt. So again, thinking about how many days your wedding is will help set what you want to include in the shot list. Okay, and let me check on Twitter and see if anybody had any questions about that part. Okay, sorry. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so we did have one question come in already, which was from, let's see, Nicole. She said, our ceremony is at dusk, and what is the best way to deal with the quick, constant changes in lighting to get the best photos? So one thing is to aim your camera. I mean, yeah, the lighting is definitely going to be changing constantly. So aim your camera at whatever you want to get to be lit up right. So most cameras will have an auto exposure feature, and you just want to keep aiming at it, you know, so like if it's somebody who is backlit with, you know, let's say the sunset behind them, you want to try to get as close as possible and aim the camera at whoever it is. If it's the bride and groom, I would, you know, if you're trying to get footage of the ceremony at sunset, try and stand to the side, like depending where the sun is, so it doesn't make them look like a silhouette. And just constantly try and get the camera to zero in on whoever it is you're trying to film and have them be well lit. But definitely be careful of having the sun behind somebody unless you're trying to get that silhouette look. Okay, and we did have another question come in. Let's see. What is the one shot we shouldn't forget? That is totally custom. And that was from future Mrs. Amodio. And please do keep the Twitter questions coming. You would tweet to @WeddingMix, and I will have something for everyone who tweets a question in. The one shot you shouldn't forget, that's what I'm going to go through at the end, so I will definitely address that. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so the first question again was how long is your wedding? So keep in mind, you know, is it days, is it hours? Okay, now, and here's something people really tend to forget. What pre and post wedding events do you have going on? So the rehearsal, getting ready, the after party, a lot of times there's a brunch. Like for our own wedding, we had a rehearsal the night before. Getting ready started at like 6 in the morning because the wedding was at noon, and it was in 2 different towns, maybe 20-mile drive apart. And so obviously the photographer, we only have one photographer, so they can only be in one place. We did not have an after party, but we had a wedding that started at noon, and our reception went till 1 in the morning. So we had a lot of hours for which to cover things. And one of the things I wish we had had on our shot list was, because there was such a big break in between the ceremony ending around 1 and the reception starting at 6, we had so many out-of-town guests that went to the casinos. We were married in Detroit. So it would have been really cool if our guests had included footage of, you know, both sides of the family were getting to know each other as they partied up at the casinos prior to coming to the reception itself. So those are the different kind of events. And then post-wedding, we had a brunch the next morning for all of the guests. But even beyond that, the other pre-wedding events you might want to have on your shot list to really think about, there's the showers, the bachelorette. As far as events go, if you're doing any special projects and you're having everyone come together to help you make them, like the favors or anything like that. But the biggest post-wedding event that most people tend to forget to put on their shot list is the honeymoon itself. I mean, that's like it's your first time as Mr. and Mrs. and you're spending, gosh, that was the only 2-week vacation we've ever had. I mean, you're 2 weeks, you know, or maybe only 1 week, but uninterrupted, you're together, you're alone. It's such a special time. So the honeymoon is really important to include on your shot list. So again, the second question you should ask yourself is, what pre and post-wedding events do you have? Okay. And then let's check Twitter again, see if anyone else. Okay, none yet. Okay. And so if you have any questions, go ahead and tweet them to @WeddingMix. Okay. Alrighty. So the next question you want to ask yourself is, what planning events do you have? So, I skipped ahead a little bit. So we have the planning events like the showers, bridal showers, Jack and Jill, it's called in some countries. You might have a couple shower, the bachelorette, but also other wedding planning events might be the tastings, dress fittings. Think about all those reality shows on TLC. And these are things you might want to include in your shot list for yourself to really plan out what you want from your wedding. So venue walkthrough, those are all things to consider, including in the memento from your wedding. So with Wedding Mix, we definitely have where you can include everything from, really, you can include the proposal if your fiance plans it out right. I mean, everything. Every pre-wedding and post-wedding event. But especially, so for my own wedding, we did a lot of DIY. So one of the things we did was I had an event where we had a bunch of the bridal party get together, as well as my father-in-law, and we made the invitations with glitter and embossing glue, or embossing, I think that was the name of the process. So it was just a ton of wine and glitter, and it was hysterical. So any kind of event you have that's before the wedding, you might want to include in your shot list. Okay. Now, the next question you might want to ask yourself is, what is most unique about your wedding? I mean, especially in these days of Pinterest, it's everybody's goal to make their wedding as unique as possible and to really reflect your own personality. So what is it about your own wedding that is unique? What special DIY projects do you have going on? Like, do you have something you're building that is for the reception, like a special sign-in board? What details? Like, if you closed your eyes and pictured your wedding being featured on a wedding blog, what details are there that would most reflect your wedding? So is it the menu cards? Is it the food? Is it your dress? What is it about your wedding that most specifically calls out that it's your wedding? And another unique thing that a lot of people tend to forget about, who is attending? So for my husband and myself, it was the very last event for both of our grandmothers. They passed away not too long after the wedding. And think about who is attending that you're really going to want to remember in the future, when you're celebrating your 5th anniversary, your 10th anniversary, who's attending your wedding that you're going to want to remember forever. And you want to make sure you interview those people. So for our wedding, it was our grandmother's. And in fact, it was also one of our college friends who unfortunately passed away not too long after the wedding. So what you want to do is include in your shot list, or maybe separately from your shot list, but including your shot list interviews, and make sure you interview those people. So with Wedding Mix, what we do is we actually send out interview cards, and in fact, you can even download them from our blog. But so interview questions that you can ask those people who are attending who you really want to remember in the future. So there are fun things like, so let me think about it. What can he get you for your 1st anniversary? Or how can you sweet talk him to get what you want? Or where do they see you in 5 years? And especially big with the grandparents is, what is your secret to a happy and healthy marriage? Another unique thing about your wedding might be the distance people are traveling, especially if it's a destination wedding. So one of the weddings we did, I think it was in January, it was December or January, and she was from Kansas City and he was from Sweden. And they were living in Sweden, so they decided to somewhat split the difference and get married in Jamaica. So there were people coming from all over the world. And that's another good one where a scavenger hunt would be good, or having people take photos and videos. I'm just going to make my phone shut up. Take photos and videos from where they live and include it in your wedding video. So what you want to do then is include in your shot list photos and videos of your home. Okay, I'm going to check again and see if anyone sent in any questions. Let's see. Yep. Great. Okay. So Linsegel asked, is it better to have one person in charge of all the cameras or let them float about? That's a great question. So first of all, I would recommend never leave it to destiny. In fact, with Wedding Mix, we send out instruction cards with the cameras. So one card is photo and video tips. And these are all downloadable from the blog as well. Another one, like I said, is the guest interview questions. And another one is the photo ops, which would be kind of like a shot list. So one of the best photo and video tips is not to leave it to destiny. So instead of letting cameras kind of float about, or the thing I really don't recommend is putting them on a camera or putting them on a table with a sign that says, hey, here's the, goodness, my phone is going crazy. Don't leave them on a table with a sign that says, here's the Wedding Mix camera, takes a video of yourself, because most people aren't going to do it unless they're drinking a lot. So what you want to do is really pick, who's your Uncle Charlie. Here, I'm going to turn the video back on a little bit. Oh, no, wait, I'll hang on. So who's your uncle, let's say, that loves to take video at family events? Definitely give them one of the cameras. Another one is, your friends who are constantly Instagramming or posting selfies or anything like that. They're the ones who are really good with the camera. Anybody who's really, into posting photos and videos, they're the ones to have in charge of the cameras. And, one of the things we also put on the blog is a spreadsheet. It was actually created by a wedding bee, Mrs. Mongoose. She used Wedding Mix for her wedding last year. And it was just a spreadsheet of all the cameras and where she wanted people, what scenes she wanted people to get. And it's just a good way to keep it all organized and not leave it to destiny. So it's good to have one person who kind of is responsible to make sure at the end of the night they all get back to you, but I wouldn't say like, hey, here's your job, you have to take the cameras. And let's see, the next question, also from Linsegel, was let's see, for all those extra events, can the cameras be charged to not miss a moment, or should we rely on the app? So the cameras usually, the Wedding Mix cameras will usually arrive a few days. They're guaranteed to arrive the day before your wedding, but they'll usually arrive, depending on where you're located, a few days before. And we fully test them and charge them before we ship them. But you should, and we send them with a charger. So you should keep them charged up and start recording all those moments, those pre-wedding moments, the post-wedding moments. But as far as like the super far ahead of the wedding moments, I would definitely use the app and tell your friends about the app, pretty much as soon as you order. So that way you can get the showers, the bachelorette. We had one recently, they did a Cubs game, guys and girls together. So you want everybody, just tell them about it. And I actually was planning another webinar about that, like how to tell your friends that you're using Wedding Mix so they can all include their footage. And so you'd want to use the app for the things that are outside the time when you would have the camera. But don't forget, if you can also take a camera on your honeymoon. So that's kind of nice, like you can get those extra moments with that. And in fact, another great thing we've seen couples do, and a lot of people forget to do this as far as their shot list goes, is, we recommend interviewing people, but why not interview each other? And kind of put that in your mental shot list to interview each other before the wedding, or even have somebody in your wedding party interview you before the wedding so that you can present your husband or your wife, depending who you are on this, with a special message that they don't see till after the wedding, like what your hopes and dreams are for your marriage, for the wedding itself, for your honeymoon, but even for your marriage, because it's so different between the day before and the day after. And what you say to that camera, it's something you're going to remember forever. So take advantage of having those cameras or having the app and film something to your sweetheart. So you can look at it, on your first anniversary or whenever. Okay, so let's get back to the slides. All right. So now here's the big question. When you were saying what's the one shot that's most important, it's what moments do you want to remember on your 5th anniversary? So like think about it, like right now you're still in the planning stage and it's all kind of like crazy. I have to send out the invitations. Oh my gosh, afterwards, geez, I'm gonna have to send out thank yous. It's all to-dos and things you're gonna have to cross off. But when the wedding's over, really all you're gonna have the gifts, which are great to remember who gave them to you. You're gonna have the photos, and if you have wedding mix, you're gonna have the video. So what is it though about your wedding itself that you want to remember 5 years later? Or picture showing it to your kids and laughing, about how their uncle was dancing at your wedding when he had a little bit too much to drink. Like, what moments do you want to remember? So that's when you want to think about the answers to those first 4 questions when you're creating your shot list. So sorry, I'm scrolling up probably too fast. So again, the 4 questions would be, how long is your wedding? So think about that, like how many days and who you're giving the shot list to. What pre and post wedding events do you have? Because that you're going to include in your shot list too. And again, with the Wedding Mix app, you can put all of this in the shot list right in the app. So when your friends, the app is totally free for your friends. So when they download it and they start using it, they can go to the shot list and shoot right from that. So if you say rehearsal or you say Cubs game or whatever city you live in, anything like that, they can start shooting. So it can be really early, way before the wedding. You can have dress fittings on that, all of it. And you can have it right in the phone, right in the app for them to see. So now think about, are those events things you want to remember? So I wish I had I didn't have Wedding Mix, but I wish I had creating the invitations. And another one, I sewed my own wedding dress. So it was kind of crazy and dumb because I didn't know how to sew, but I did it anyway. And so I wish I had in there, like, the trip I took to buy the fabric or the dress fitting, or it was just me and my friend, with a tape measure, fitting it. But it was crazy. I was cutting out tulle, yards and yards and yards, 19 yards of tulle. Like, these are things that you want to think about that you're going to want to remember in the years to come. Or for our own wedding, we had a choreographed first dance. That definitely would have been on my shot list, but also the dance lessons, because it was silly and crazy and we were horrible. And so seeing them before and after would have been wonderful. So I would have put that on my shot list. Again, what planning events do you have? If you're taking a trip to Vegas or some kind of vacation, Tahoe, with your best friends and your wedding party, that should be on your shot list. And then those details, like if you picture your wedding getting featured on Offbeat Bride or Style Me Pretty or Wedding Chicks, what would be in those pictures because you want some of that to be on your shot list? Okay. And now a bonus tip. Don't make the shot list too long. So if it's for your friends or even if it's for your photographer, you don't want it to be a dissertation. So somebody once did send us, it was a 3-page Word doc of a shot list that they wanted us to fit into the phone. So you can imagine, like, your friends, it would be too much. It's wonderful that you want to capture all that, but it's going to be too much for your friends. And probably even if the shot list is just for your photographer or videographer, that might be too much. So the Wedding Mix app does limit it to 255 characters, but you just want to think what's manageable and just get the most important moments to you. For me, I wish I had my first dance. That for me was probably the most important because we spent 6 weeks preparing for it. Another important one that I don't have because we didn't have Wedding Mix would be the interviews. I mean, really for us, the most important thing was all the family and friends coming together. And I mean, we had people from the East Coast, West Coast, Australia. So if we had had interviews with all of them about their hopes and dreams for our marriage, that would have been just amazing. So that would have been in my custom shot list. And let me just check if there's any questions again. Okay, we're doing all right. And the very last thing I wanted to tell you about was how to tell your friends about your shot list. So, oh, and I promised about the photobombing too, so I'll try and fit that in. The most successful, and we do have this on the blog, one of our brides, she was actually one of the first ones to use the app, in fact. And what she did, she had a party, since she was having an out-of-town wedding or destination wedding, she had a party for all of her guests before the wedding, and she told them all about the app before the wedding, and she showed them how to download it, you know, and how to use it, and she showed them her shot list, and it was fabulous. They got a ton of footage. And we even had one bride and groom who filmed a custom video that they put on YouTube for their guests and showed them how to use it and what their app code was. Another way, of course, is to email. Email your friends with a link to the Wedding Mix app, or if you're just doing, you know, even if you're not using Wedding Mix, if you're just trying to get photos and videos from your friends, you know, put it in an email and tell them what you wanted to get for your wedding. And you could, of course, put it on Facebook, but definitely on a wedding website, or why did I put bourbon? Probably just, oh, take them out for drinks and tell them about the app and tell them about your shot list. I happen to love bourbon, so that's probably why I put that on there. I do actually have an infographic coming out that's pretty helpful about wedding etiquette with the smartphones, which would lead to our next one, our very last slide, because we have 2 minutes left. How to work with your photographer or videographer so that your friends don't photobomb. Because, you know, you hired your photographer or your videographer because you want to get their shots. And so, you know, it's kind of funny when your friends jump in for some of them. But I know there was an episode of Wedding Island last year where the groom's sister actually got between the bride and groom while they were saying their vows, and like to get close-ups of them putting on the ring. It's not really cool. It messes with the photographer's shots and the videographer. So what you want to do is find out where the photographer and videographer are going to be set up for the ceremony and those most important moments. Like, depending on your church, they might be required to stand way at the back, or, you know, find out from the pros where they're going to be, and then ask your guests, you know, if you want to get photos and videos too, great. Don't stand here, stand anyplace else. And of course, ask them not to use their flash if it's going to interfere with the pro. Also, ask the pro if they would like your friends to take the photos before them or after them, so they're really not getting in the way. A lot of pro photographers will just say, hey, here's 5 minutes, go ahead and take all the photos you want, but now let us do our job. And then also ask the pro if they want to plan photobomb moments, because a lot of times those are hysterical to look at later, or video bomb moments. You know, ask them if they want to plan something with your friends. And the very last question is, do you want a discount? If you haven't yet ordered Wedding Mix, ask your wedding vendor if they are a StoryMix Media affiliate, because you can get a discount through them, like your florist, your photographer, whoever. Your wedding planner, all of them can get you a special discount. And then if that doesn't work out for you, there's also Pinterest. You can always pin our homepage and get a discount just for spreading the word. Now I'm going to check one last time and see if there were any questions. Okay. Yes, we did have one more. Awesome. Okay, this was from Nicole. We are doing a camera I Spy as a way to let people know shots we want. Awesome. Yeah. Is there a recommended min or max number of shots? Well, actually, I do have an I Spy on the blog that you can download. I would say don't make it too long. Minimum, I would say maybe 10 or 15. No, I guess I would say no more than 20. You don't want to make it like a chore for your friends. So I do have a few downloads that I would recommend, and I'm going to put this on the blog probably tomorrow with links to some of the downloads. So there's the I Spy. We do have a shot list for the wedding itself. I think it has 18 moments, or it's like the wedding weekend. So things you might not have thought of, like the flower girl dancing on the groom's feet, or the or the look in your mom's eyes when she sees your dad walking you down the aisle. Like everybody has their cameras trained on the bride walking down the aisle, right? But who's looking at your mom? Or who's looking at the groom? It's so some different moments like that. Um, and then there is also, I have a separate list for the key moments you want to remember, which would include things like the honeymoon and the DIY projects. So yeah, but I do have actually an Adobe Illustrator file that you can download from the blog with a custom I Spy, and then I have one, a different one as well that's just a PDF that you can use. But I do have a special gift. I had said ahead of time that anyone who tweeted a question would get a special gift. So what I wanted to offer was I will get in touch with everyone if you can email me at help@storymixmedia, and we'll set up a time for a 5 to 10 minute phone call, and I will actually create for you a custom shot list, and I will style it for you and send you the PDF. So go ahead. Everyone who was on Twitter sent me a question, send me an email at help@storymixmedia.com. We'll set up a time and talk about your shot list, just maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and I will create just a custom shot list for you. And that's my gift to you. Thanks so much, everybody. Did anyone else have a last minute question? Okay, I'm not seeing anything else. I will go ahead and take off the screen sharing so I can actually, let's see. There we go. This is me and my purple hair. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. As I said, I will try and get the video, if Google cooperates, the video should be on the blog tomorrow, as well as those downloads for the shot list. And go ahead and email me at help@storymixmedia, and I will create a custom shot list for you, for you to use your phone. And if you have any questions about Wedding Mix, go ahead and email help@storymixmedia, and I will go ahead and answer those questions for you. Thanks again. Have a wonderful evening.